This is 1360 AM. WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJCradio.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Caution of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I am Rick Trader, and I'm coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and around the world on the Internet via our new Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me today as my co-host on this beautiful, beautiful April afternoon is my very good friend, Anna Little. Anna, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hi, Rick. So glad to be with you, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, too, Anna. So, Anna, before we get into things, why don't we run down our list of guests today?
Well, this afternoon, I'm getting the honor of speaking with Robert Spencer. He's the director of Jihad Watch, a program at the David Horowitz Freedom Center. And he's also the author of New York Times bestsellers, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusades, and The Truth About Muhammad. And his articles on Islam and other topics have appeared in many publications, including the New York Post, the Washington Times, the Dallas Morning News, WorldNet Daily, Human Events, National Review Online. So he's really qualified. And, you know, we believe next Monday is the one-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing, so it's really timely to talk about what's going on as far as this jihad and Islam and the United States, right?
That's right.
You know, hopefully we'll be talking in detail about that with him. And, you know, he's got many, many good points to share with us about how we probably should be dealing with the Middle East, where we can be hopeful of some kind of détente and where it's impossible.
All right. Sounds good. Who else?
And I'm also getting the honor of speaking with Dmitry Vasishev. He's a Young Voices advocate currently based out of Washington, D.C., but he's originally from Siberia. And he studied international relations at Russia's Diplomatic University in Moscow and the political economy at London School of Economics. So he's very, very qualified to talk to us about what is going on today in the Ukraine. We're going to talk about the protests, the revolution leading up to the new government, Putin's potential goals in the Ukraine. You know, there's what Putin says and what he actually is working on. And, you know, we see that dichotomy, and hopefully he can shed some light. The history and demography. I'm sure many of our listeners are not aware of that information. So Dmitry is going to be very helpful in educating us there. Mm-hmm. And the possibility of further aggression. And, you know, I'm going to stop right there, Rick. There are other items we could talk about, but that really, to me, is the most important. This possibility of further aggression against the Ukraine, and obviously that has ripple effects. So I'm very, very concerned about that.
All right, and I'm going to be speaking with Penny Starr from CNS News. And Penny's been with CNS News since 2008, and prior to that, 25 more years in print media. And Penny is going to be joining us to talk about an article she has up on cnsnews.com. CO2 is not a pollutant, provides beneficial impacts to planet Earth, which is a surprise to many, considering everyone thinks, not everyone, but there is a large segment out there to try to tell people that it's a poison. So we'll get into that with Penny Starr and the 4:30 half hour. So Anna Little, it's great to have you with us again today. So what's on your radar screen this day, my friend?
Well, this day I am focused on the Republican Study Committee, which is the conservative caucus in the House of Representatives, which is now controlled by Republicans. And I have been looking at some of the headline items on this website of theirs, which is at rsc.scalise, S-C-A-L-I-S-E, as in Representative Scalise, who's the chairman now, .house.gov. That's rsc.scalise.house.gov. And that's the RSC website, the Republican Study Committee's website. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they're talking about all these solutions that they've been putting forward and the fact that the liberals just won't have anything to do with it. I mean, once again, our Republican-led, or more importantly, we the people-led House has passed a budget, once again. And there's a modified version of the Ryan budget that's been passed in the House, and there's no indication as to when or if the Senate will take it up. And this is, I think, an issue we have to drum home when we're talking to folks. Somehow the Republicans keep getting the blame for stopping things from moving in D.C., and yet when I look at the information at the Republican Study Committee website, it seems to me the Republicans are the only one proposing any kind of solutions, and the bad policy that's already been propounded and proved to be bad by the Democratic side of things, or not necessarily Democratic, but liberal progressive side of things, they get to sit and point the finger while the Republicans are doing all the work. And, of course, it's the Democrats that won't move anything forward through the Senate. So I don't know what the heck they're talking about, but it seems to me like Republicans are trying to get the job done.
Well, what they're talking about, Anna, they're talking about compromise. But you see, compromise to the Democrats means to give them everything they want. That's their definition of compromise. Give us what we want, and we'll call that a compromise.
Yeah, well, the problem we have with the left, and I think, this is something that we talk about a lot in conservative circles, but with the left, their idea of center is very far to the left. And, they will only discuss to about left of center, and then when they are asking us to compromise, it brings us far to the left of center. And they do this incrementally, and once they've gotten you to compromise once, they get you to compromise again and again and again, and before you know it, you're living in a socialist republic.
Which we're pretty much doing right now. Yeah, if you could call it a republic, which we are doing right now.
Yeah, we are living in a society that is heading towards socialism if it isn't already there. I mean, remember, we socialized the poor with welfare. Mm-hmm. We made them dependent on the government. Here's your handout. Don't worry, you don't have to work. We'll take care of you. And then we bailed out the corporations, which were too big to fail, so we had to take our tax dollars and prop them up, and of course now they're dependent on the government. We said, don't you worry about it, businesses. You don't have to actually make a profit and survive in a free market. You just rely on, big daddy government, and we'll take care of you. And then, the middle class, well, we just decided to rise up and take back the House of Representatives in 2010 to say enough of this nonsense, because we realized through Obamacare that they were coming for us next. You see, there's only the three tiers. There's the very poor, there's the job creators and the corporations, and then there's the hard-working person in the middle. Mm-hmm. And right now, with the enactment and now the implementation of Obamacare, we are fully socialized in this country, in my opinion.
Yep. You're not going to get an argument from me there, Anna. Indeed we are. Indeed we are.
So we have to now live in this economy. And, while I was very excited that the stock market rallied, now I'm by no means an expert on the stock market, but I do watch it because, to me, it's one of the economic indicators. And, rallied yesterday, and I thought, oh, this is great. And then, of course, it closed last night down again. So explain to me how that works.
Well, I'm in your boat, Anna. I have no idea how the stock market operates. We have a financial advisor, someone who we trust, and he doesn't either. He doesn't understand why the stock market is so high. He says it's all false. It's all phony.
Speculation to some degree, and I think you've got some that are conservatives that buy stock and hold it in a more traditional fashion and, trust the free market to take that corporation forward. And I mean, the general principles.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the speculative is where you see the economic indicators. What is the feeling of those who would invest in corporations? Are they ready to rally? Are they ready to invest? Are we ready to see some economic growth? And, you see that at the beginning of a market, but by the end of the day, they're back down again. So to me, it's just a non-starter. And then, we're also looking at job loss rates. We had some news on that this week, that they're somehow 7% less than they've ever been or whatever. But, since when? And, it sure seems to me like whatever is 7% less than it was. I mean, we are in double-digit trouble. So, when do we get some growth? I mean, we're still in recovery. When do we get some growth?
Well, Anna, what gets me about these numbers, these job numbers, is they'll come out and say, well, we only lost 310,000 jobs last month. But then everybody goes, oh, look, that's great. See, Obama's plan is really working. And then a few weeks later, they'll come out and say, well, actually, we have to revise those numbers. It was actually 375,000 jobs. Just about every month, and we go through this. I'd like to know when people are going to start to see through it.
Well, I think there are some pretty educated folks that are beginning to see through it. I think the question is, what do we do about it at this point? I mean, we're pretty far in.
What do you do about it? That's a good question. I don't think there is very much you can do about it until when I say we, until the Republicans take over the Senate and take over the White House, and then let's pray the right people get in the White House and in the Senate. Let's pray we get some heads turned around in the House of Representatives. You're listening, John Boehner and Eric Cantor. And let's pray that we can start to get back to what our founding fathers created. Hey, Anna, with that, we got to take our first break.
Okay.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, and we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet. And today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Please don't go away, Anna and I will be right back.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, switch on over to or log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. And Monday afternoon, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, place where you can hear that is at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining us now is Darren Awicki. Darren is the New Jersey State Director of Americans for Prosperity, very good friend of our show. And Darren, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Rick, thanks for having me again.
Appreciate you joining us, and we ask you to join us today to remind our local listening audience about your Tax Day rally and phone bank that's taking place tomorrow morning in Pennsville, New Jersey.
Pennsville, New Jersey, 11:30 a.m. We're going to take advantage of the great weather, grill some hamburgers, hot dogs, give some great information to empower you, the citizen, as to what our government has been doing, and encourage those who are in attendance to get on our phones, our Freedom phones, and tell all of your friends and neighbors across the country what our government has been doing. Because, Rick, as you know, our government is spending a lot more, and it's not improving the lives of our great citizens here.
Indeed it is not. Indeed it is not. You know, Darren, what drives me crazy is this government, it takes in about $2.2 trillion a year, but is actually spending about $3.5 trillion a year. Darren and Wiki, where's the sanity in that?
It is insanity. That is what we call our nation's capital. And, I mean, really, the government's going to collect somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3 trillion tax dollars this year. You know, where is the money going? And there's just tons of waste that you can look at all over. I mean, just look at the improper payments of over $100 billion in federal funds just in error every year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of wasteful spending our government does year after year. And it's on the backs of hardworking American citizens.
And Darren, another question: where's the accountability?
I would love to see it. There's some great folks in Washington who are trying to hold these individuals accountable, but I tell you, this particular administration has been tough, and that's why it's so important for us as citizens to be the shining example, to be the torch, to shine the light and be the accountability holders of those folks in Washington, and make sure that they know who they work for, and that's us, the American people.
Well, I guess you're right, Darren. There's where the accountability is. The accountability must stay with we, the people. And to hold their feet to the fire, to hold the people's feet to the fire that are in Congress, that are spending our money.
And it's very much the truth. I mean, without the American people coming together, and that's one of our main purposes, excuse me, for this Saturday in Pennsville at Fort Mott, is to empower those folks that come out with some great information, some great messaging, so they can go out and hold their politicians accountable for what they're doing, not only in Trenton, but also in Washington.
Right. And we're speaking with Darren Awicki, who's the New Jersey State Director for Americans for Our Prosperity. And Darren, on the other line, I do have our very good friend Anna Little with us. And Anna, you know, next Tuesday is April 15th, a time when everyone is supposed to have their taxes filed. However, as we had Darren on earlier in the week, and he pointed out that Tax Freedom Day is until the middle of May, and Anna, that Tax Freedom Day gets deeper in the year, deeper and deeper in each year, every year.
Well, you're right, Rick. And Darren, you know, I think it's really important that we make sure that we get our messaging back on track. You know, we've allowed the liberal progressives to help us focus on all kinds of issues, none of which have to do with job creation. And certainly taxes is an opportunity for us to say, hey, what's going on here? We're paying the government, right? But the free market economy is not working well. And the reason that's not working well is because the government's sitting on top of it. And a lot of that has to do with excessive government spending, which, again, is collecting taxes from us. So, you know, this is an opportunity for we the people to get our messaging back on track, right?
And that's exactly right, Anna. It's time for us to get out there and take advantage of this opportunity. I think Charles Krauthammer, this morning I read an article about how the left is in nothing but denial mode. And you know what? It's time for us to start speaking the truth and going out there and letting folks know what it is that they're doing, which is really destroying the American dream. And the best way to lead to prosperity and giving people the best hope is through free market education, to letting them know that it's our principles that will lead to better jobs, better health care, and more opportunity in this country, not what this administration is pushing for, not what a vast majority of the far left is pushing for.
Well, you know, Darren, it's music to my ears. You know, we need to have some leadership on this, and you do a terrific job here in New Jersey, making sure that the grassroots is active and that they're focused on this issue. Now, what is it that we can do, though? You know, we've got the House of Representatives. We once again have passed a budget. Very, very proud of the House Republicans coming together, conservatives and moderates alike, and passing some modification of the Ryan budget. So great for us. The House of Representatives passed the budget. But what a lot of people don't realize is we can't get that budget passed fully unless the Senate takes it up. And what we get back from the Senate usually doesn't resemble what came out of the House in the first place. So talk to us. What is it we need to do as the we the people lobby to reach out to these representatives? What do we have to do to get the Senate to respect the work the House has done?
Well, this is why every 2 years we have elections, and elections have consequences, and the way that our members vote also have consequences. And here's a real opportunity for the American people through organizations like Americans for Prosperity and the Conservative Commandos Radio Show to learn what those folks are doing. And you need to get on the phone and call your members and either thank them for doing the right thing or let them know you're up for re-election and you're not voting the right way. You're not doing the things that are bringing prosperity to this great nation. Remember that in November.
All right. Well, Darren Awicki, it was great that you could spend a few more moments with us today. And once again, give all the particulars of the Tax Day Rally and Phone Bank happening tomorrow in Pennsville, New Jersey.
Happening tomorrow, Fort Mott at 454 Fort Mott Road. We're starting at 11:30. Free food, great information. We're rolling out our taxpayer scorecard tomorrow as well. So come on out, be empowered, and make some calls into your local residencies to help us out in carrying the message of freedom.
Well, you guys at Americans for Prosperity do great work. You're a guiding light, a beacon for all of us to follow. Darren Awicki, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
All right, with that, Anna, we are going to take our break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet via our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And hey, please check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Two different sites, different information on each one of them. Check them out. Don't go away. Anna and I will be right back with our next guest, Robert Spencer, talking about his new book.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth, and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to MinierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Minier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Minier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, fellow patriots. Welcome back once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and yours truly, Rick Trader. And a program note, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 p.m. this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. At 5 p.m. East Coast time, when we end our live broadcast, you can hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show by logging on to cprworldwidemedia.com. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show on Monday afternoon, the place to find that is at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And with that, Anna Little, our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is yours, Anna Little, so please take it away.
Well, Rick, Robert Spencer is the director of Jihad Watch, a program of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and author of the New York Times bestsellers, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusades, and The Truth About Muhammad, as well as 6 other books on Islam and terrorism. His articles on Islam and other topics have appeared in the New York Post, the Washington Times, the Dallas Morning News, FrontPageMagazine.com, WorldNet Daily, Insight in the News, Human Events, National Review Online, and many other journals. He has appeared on Fox News, CNN, PBS, and C-SPAN, and numerous nationally syndicated radio shows, including Michael Savage's Savage Nation and The Laura Ingraham Show. And his discussions are primarily on jihad, Islam, and terrorism. Robert, we're very excited about you and these topics. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, Robert, we're glad to have you on because next Monday is the 1-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. And it sure seems that you've got a message that no one's going to hear from the mainstream media, which is that the Boston bombings could have been prevented.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The Boston bombings could have been prevented because the Russians told the FBI that Tamerlan Tsarnaev, the mastermind of the plot, was a follower of radical Islam, in their words, and somebody who had tried to join underground groups, which can only mean, in the context of Dagestan and Chechnya, that he was trying to join jihad groups. Now, what's funny about this is that the New York Times, as always, trying to run interference for Barack Obama, has issued a large supposed expose just a couple days ago saying that Obama actually, not Obama, but the FBI actually could have prevented the attacks if they had acted on the Russian intel, but they didn't because they asked the Russians for more information and the Russians refused to give it. And so it's the Russians' fault. But there's obvious problems with that. In the first place, the Russians do not have the responsibility to work American law enforcement and American intelligence. That's the FBI's responsibility. They dropped the ball because we know that even though the Russians didn't give the FBI all the information they wanted, we know that they did tell the FBI that Tamerlan Tsarnaev was a jihadi. And it's enough for them to have kept him under surveillance and at least to know where he was going, what he was doing, and who he was doing it with. They didn't do anything like that. And I can tell you that I think that that is directly a result of the fact that on October 19th, 2011, the 57 Muslim groups led by Muslim Advocates, which is a Muslim Brotherhood organization of lawyers in the United States, they wrote a letter to John Brennan, who was then the Homeland Security Advisor and is now the Director of the CIA, demanding that he scrub all counterterror training materials of material referring to Islam and jihad in connection with terrorism, and fire all counterterror trainers who spoke about Islam and jihad in connection with jihad terrorism. They named me specifically as one of them. I used to train FBI. And the White House immediately complied. John Brennan wrote back on White House stationery as if to underscore that this was at the highest level. He was agreeing to do this. And so then, not long after that, you have the Russians telling the FBI that there's this guy who's trying to join jihad groups and is a follower of radical Islam. Now, the FBI was already bound as a matter of policy to ignore that kind of information and to discount it and to think that that was nothing worth pursuing because it would be Islamophobic and hateful to do so. So it's absolutely the FBI's fault that the Boston Marathon bombing happened. If they had acted on what we know the Russians told them, even if the Russians had never spoken to them again, then they would have been able to prevent it.
Well, you know, Robert, I think you're talking about this disease, I guess, that plagues us as Americans. You know, we live in a free nation. Our way of life is based on liberty and freedom. And it's this disease of political correctness that gets in the way of the truth. And we really need to talk about it, you know. We're talking about jihad. Jihad means war and death, does it not? It means annihilation. Jihad is, there's no question as to the definition of jihad. Islam, some want to call a religion, but Islam combined with jihad is nothing more than a geopolitical force, right? I mean, they want to annihilate whoever their infidel is. To me, that's not worship and praise of some god. That is the genocide of a people or, you know, whoever their target is. And terrorism, that's just the method for carrying it out. So, I mean, what is wrong with talking about all of these things when you're talking about violence, when you're talking about possible genocide or at least the elimination or annihilation of a target, and terrorism as a means to carry that out, violence and death? What's wrong with talking about these things?
What's wrong with talking about these things is that it's against Islamic law to do so. Islamic law forbids criticism of Islam and penalty of death. And
well, that's self-serving, isn't it? Especially when they want to break the law and they want to kill people.
Well, yeah. But the thing is that Islamic law
that's like the criminal, that's like the murderer saying, hey, we don't want to talk about it. It's against my personal law to talk about the murder I committed.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. That it is essentially a criminal enterprise, and so you have the non-Muslims being subjugated under the rule of Islamic law, and then they're forbidden to talk about their situation, so that the whole thing goes on under cover of silence. And that is what they are successfully imposing upon Westerners by claiming that it's bigoted and hateful and racist to talk about these things. They're effectively making us submit to Islamic law in regard to blasphemy and the prohibition on criticism of Islam.
All right. Well, so here's where I'm going to go. I'm not going to say that anyone that practices Islam is necessarily a jihadist. We can debate that. I know there are many experts on Islam that cannot separate Islam from jihad. I believe in the evolution of things that, you know, that is a possibility. But I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that talks about jihad, whether they are Islamist or not, is an enemy of the infidel, and the number one infidel is the United States of America, right? The Western way of life, the Western world, but definitely the United States of America. So if you want to talk to me about jihad, you're no longer, in my opinion, you're not owed my respect as a religion, because you're now talking about war. Am I wrong?
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. Islam is a political and social system as well as a religion. Jihad means struggle, literally, but the primary struggle in the Quran and Islamic law is warfare against unbelievers to subjugate them as inferiors under the rule of that Islamic law. So it is a political statement. It's an authoritarian system that enforces the denial of rights to non-Muslims, and so it's something that is inimical to, contradictory to constitutional values and principles.
And Constitution values and principles, those are the basis for the United States of America, our form of government, and our freedom and our way of life. Am I correct?
Of course. And so, you know, as you say, there are plenty of Muslims who don't care about this, aren't interested in pursuing it. But the ones who are able to claim that they are the authentic Muslims, they do make that claim, and they make recruits among peaceful Muslims on that basis.
Well, it sure sounds to me like we're dealing with a struggle, if you want to call it a struggle. I think it's a war between truth and freedom, and then the hidden potential of, say, death, annihilation. I mean, it sure sounds to me like it's black and white. Okay, we've got to go to break. Robert, I hope you'll hold on through the break because we're not done with you yet, and we're certainly not done with talking about this topic. Listeners, you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. We are broadcasting live from our flagship station, WNJC 1360, and around the world on the Internet. We are going to go to break right now, but we're going to continue speaking with Robert Spencer, the director of Jihad Watch, after the break, and we hope during the break you will check out our websites at ccrshow.com and conservativecommandosradioshow.com. We'll see you after the break.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We are speaking this segment with Robert Spencer, Director of Jihad Watch, about the very important topic of jihad, Islam, and terrorism. Robert, welcome back from the break. I'm hoping that you're now going to talk to us about Arab Spring in the Middle East and Arab Winter here in the United States of America. Introduce those topics
thanks for asking, because that actually is, as you may know, my new book, Arab Winter Comes to America, will be out Tuesday, and it is all about exactly what we've been discussing, the denial and the willful ignorance on the part of the government and the media in relation to the Islamic Jihad and how it is endangering all of us. The Arab Spring is the case in point, and hence the title. The Arab Spring was widely hailed by the American media and by the Obama administration as being this wonderful flowering of democracy and pluralism in the Middle East, when actually it was a Muslim Brotherhood takeover in Egypt and the destabilization of the whole area. And that just is emblematic of the myopia that the Obama administration and the media views this topic through. And so the same people with the same ideology are working in the United States to bring the Arab winter here. And nobody is aware of it, or very few people are aware of it, because of all the about jihad attacks and the reality, the nature and magnitude of the jihad threat. You know, if, for example, right after it became clear that the Boston bombers were indeed Islamic jihadis, the media went into full denial mode and saying, well, so they were Muslims, so what? And completely ignoring that there is this ideology of supremacism and conquest that underlies these attacks. And it was the same thing at the Fort Hood jihad massacre. First thing is that Obama says this has nothing to do with Islam, and it was workplace violence, and so on. This kind of denial and willful ignorance is only going to pave the way for more jihad attacks of the same kind.
Well, it seems that the Islamic Jihad has made its way to America. I mean, obviously, we had the 9/11 2001 bombing. Okay, they used an airplane to accomplish it, but it was a bombing, right?
Yeah.
So it's made its way to U.S. soil. It's been years. This is 2014 now. So, you know, it's not a new thing here. We're just not, I don't know, somehow our collective consciousness is not accepting this. And I got to say, the individuals here at the grassroots level, we get it. I mean, jihad is here. It's on American soil. It's time to fight back. We've seen the infiltration by Muslim imams of our jails, you know, co-opting criminals, and you know, it's been visible to everybody, I guess, except the media and the government leadership here. So I don't think it's any secret.
Yeah, there's an increasing distance between the people and the governing elites and the media elites, and they're increasingly out of touch. And there's an increasing number of people who have no voice in the government, and their concerns are not being addressed. And this kind of situation, this can't last forever. There's going to be trouble. And I'm not threatening anything, and I'm not even really warning of any kind of concerted action that I'm aware of. But I know that the more any government gets out of touch with its people and refuses to address their real concerns and continues to lie to them about it, and that's exactly what's happening with the jihad threat in the United States, then that government is going to face increasing resistance of all kinds.
Well, I think that sounds like conclusions we all can agree with. I want to talk a little bit about the additional evidence, perhaps the more recent evidence, of the continuing jihad here on American soil. I mean, I'm looking at information here that has not been publicized by the media and the Justice Department, but has been indicated by you. Islamic terrorists have plotted to blow up Wichita's airport, and a Seattle nightclub was set on fire. Tell us about those two incidents.
Yeah, those are two very important stories, and very few people know about them. You know, in Islamic law, there is a very strict moral code, and it is enforced by violence, so that, you know, women who don't want to wear the headscarf are threatened with death. And not all the time, but all too often. And so you get this empire of fear that's enforced by people being just too afraid to step out of line. And morals police, such that in countries like Saudi Arabia, and to an increasing degree even in places like Indonesia and Malaysia, you have these Islamic Sharia police who go around making sure that Islamic law is not being broken. And they even were doing that in London recently. But I think one of the first examples of it we saw in the United States was on New Year's Eve, when there was a Muslim in Seattle, went to a gay nightclub in Seattle, and set fire to a stairway, trying to burn the place down and kill everybody in it, so they wouldn't, because the stairway, of course, made it so that they wouldn't be able to get out. Now, he was clearly somebody who was motivated by Islamic principles of morality. Christian morality also has the same view that homosexuality is something that's immoral, but it doesn't say you go and kill the people who do it, and this is the difference. We've seen many examples of that kind of thing in Muslim countries, but in the Seattle nightclub, that was one of the first in the United States. Another case that you mentioned there just was a few months before that a convert to Islam in Wichita, Kansas, drove a van that he thought was full of explosives into the Wichita airport. Now, he had clearance, security clearance, because he was an airport employee. And so he was able to get the van into a secure area. The only catch was that the FBI had given him explosives that were fakes, that were dummies. And so there was no explosion. But he was hoping to commit a large-scale mass murder attack with many, many hundreds of casualties, if not thousands, and in the name of Islam and Allah. And the thing is, these kinds of things, these kinds of plots are uncovered on a more or less regular basis. And yet the government continues to say that there's no threat, that there's no problem, that these are discrete, isolated incidents that have nothing to do with each other, and they never address the fact that they all are unified by a common ideology and are pursued by people with the same belief system as many others who are living peaceful in the United States now. Now, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but we have to call the Muslim communities in the United States to account and say, we need you to renounce explicitly and work against these elements of Islam that incite to violence and to hatred. And we need to see you moving actively against them, because we are going to defend the principles of human rights and freedom upon which our Constitution and this nation are based.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, Anna and I are speaking with Robert Spencer. He is the director of Jihad Watch, a program of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and also the author of a new book coming out next Monday, Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We're In. Robert, why has this administration and the media ignored the truth about Islam and the Arab Spring and the Arab Winter? Why have they ignored the truth?
Well, it seems as if the administration is laboring under the delusion that if they show goodwill, if they show friendliness to Islamic groups and to Muslim countries, then there will be a response in kind. And this is something that's actually an entrenched idea in Washington, that we can win over their hearts and minds by being kind to them, building hospitals and schools in their countries, showering them with foreign aid, and so on. It's an old Cold War idea. They're still fighting the last war. The problem is that the Quran in Islam says that for non-Muslims to give Muslims money, that's their due. They're supposed to do that as a sign of their submission to the Muslims. It's in chapter 9, verse 29 of the Quran. And so if that's the case, then they see all this foreign aid, and they think it's just their due, what they deserve. It's supposed to be this way, that the non-Muslims pay money to the Muslims. But that doesn't mean that the Muslims have anything less than the contempt that they had already for the non-Muslim. This kind of myopia is based on an ignorance of the teachings of Islam and an unwillingness to face the reality, which of course is understandable because Islamic supremacist advocacy groups with ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, like the Council on American Islamic Relations, have successfully put into the mainstream the idea that to talk about these things honestly is some sort of bigotry and hate.
You know, Robert...
Real hate is on their end.
Robert, earlier in the conversation, you were talking with Anna about how the Russians tried to warn the FBI about the Shinarov brothers. And also in your book, I believe you're going to talk about that the mosque that they attended was known for breeding terrorists. We got about 3 minutes left. Could you talk a little bit about that, and also how this political correctness is allowing jihad to cultivate in America, and it's putting all of us at risk?
Yeah, that's emblematic of the entire failure of our whole counterterror effort. That Tsarnaev brothers attended the Islamic Society of Boston, which was founded in the 90s by Abdurrahman al-Amoudi, who is now in prison for funding al-Qaeda. And so that's one strike. It was also the mosque that was attended by Afia Siddiqui, who is serving an 86-year prison sentence for trying to murder American soldiers in the name of Islam and jihad, and Tariq Mahana, who is serving a 17-year sentence for aiding al-Qaeda. And the Tsarnaev brothers went there. There are also others with questionable ties who have gone to this mosque.
And are they being looked at more closely since the Boston bombings?
Well, they never had gone into the mosque before the Boston bombing, even though they knew Tsarnaev went there. And
well, what about since that time?
What's that?
Since the bombings, has this mosque been looked at yet?
No, still not yet.
Oh,
they had only gone for outreach, for interfaith outreach. The FBI had gone to show that they had goodwill toward Muslims. That's the only time they've been there.
Robert, in a minute that we have left, do you think that the administration's reactions to the Boston bombings and other terrorist acts in this country has anything to do with the fact that he grew up in Indonesia, went to Muslim school? Many people think he's Muslim himself.
Well, I tell you, I don't know if Barack Obama is a Muslim or not, but I know that if he is a secret Muslim, he wouldn't be acting any differently from how he is acting.
Wow.
His foreign and domestic policies have been completely pro-Islam and in line with the Islamic supremacist agenda. And I do think, even if he's not a Muslim, he certainly has a warm sympathy for Islam and Islamic law, probably from his childhood in Indonesia and his father and his stepfather. And he thinks that an Islamic state is a fine thing that ought to be encouraged in the world, and he's certainly done a lot of encouraging.
Robert Spencer, the book is Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We Are In. Where can people buy it?
It should be at any self-respecting bookstore, and it's certainly at Amazon.com and also at my own website, jihadwatch.org.
Robert Spencer, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the Conservative Commandos radio show. I wish we had more time. This went so fast.
My pleasure, and thanks so much for having me on.
Take care. God bless. We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And also, please check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Don't go away. Anna and I will be right back.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Caution of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. JD is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. You are listening to Rick Trader and Anna Little. This is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. And this segment, we're going to be speaking with Dmitry Vasishev. Dmitry is a Young Voices advocate currently based out of Washington, D.C. He is originally from Siberia, and he has studied international relations at Russia's Diplomatic University in Moscow and political economy at the London School of Economics. Young Voices, which is a project of Students for Liberty, aiming to get young libertarian and conservative professionals into the media. Dmitry, we are very pleased to have you join us this afternoon, and we hope that you'll shed some light on the issues facing Ukraine and, of course, the United States and the rest of the world. Dmitry Vasishev, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Hi. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Dmitry, you have some unique experience to share with us. I mean, you grew up in Siberia, you've studied internationally, and you are now watching what is going on in Ukraine. We call it the Russian intervention, and it began with some what I think were civil protests, a civil revolution, and then a new government imposed by the people. What is it we're missing in that picture?
I think it's a pretty accurate description of what happened in Ukraine. There were popular protests which started in November last year. They were going on for a few months until the government of President Yanukovych tried to forcefully crack down on the protests, and the protesters ousted the government and installed a new democratic government, which President Putin did not like.
Dmitry, can you bring your voice up a little bit? I don't know if it's our connection, but you are sounding very soft over the line.
Dmitry,
it's very important.
Dmitry, are you on a speakerphone? If you are, could you pick up the receiver? We might be able to hear you a little better.
All right. Let me try doing. Hello?
Oh, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dmitry. So we were talking about, what has been going on there in the Ukraine. Repeat the gist of what you had just said, as I'm sure if I didn't hear you, neither did the listeners.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, you described the picture pretty accurately. There were indeed popular protests in Ukraine, which started in November last year, which were prompted by the policies of President Yanukovych, who was a corrupt president who tried to monopolize power, and eventually he had to crack down on the peaceful protests, and very likely he is the person behind shootings of protesters in February, and he was ousted by the people, and President Vladimir Putin obviously didn't like that.
Well, it seems to me that Yanukovych has gone to Putin and said, hey, listen, the people threw me out of power. I need you as the Russian president to put me back in. I mean, that's what it looks like from where I'm sitting. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're both right and wrong, I'd say. Yes, Putin and Yanukovych are certainly working together, but I think at this point Yanukovych is not an independent actor in any way. Putin uses Yanukovych when he needs him, and he will get rid of him as soon as Yanukovych is not useful anymore. Yanukovych was forced to flee to Russia. He has very little political support in Ukraine, and Putin only uses him as a justification for his intervention in Ukraine.
So then it's really Vladimir Putin who wants to intervene in Ukraine or perhaps take over Ukraine. What are Putin's goals in Ukraine?
Well, talking about Putin's goals is hard because there's a question about his decision-making logic in general. Does he think geopolitically? Does he think, is he ideologically motivated? So I'd say geopolitically, his invasion of Crimea was motivated by the fact that the new democratic Ukrainian government would be very likely to sign a free trade agreement with the EU, which has an overwhelming popular support in Ukraine. And Putin saw it as a threat to Russia's presence in Crimea because the Russian Black Sea Fleet is based in Crimea. So he used the temporary weakness of the Ukrainian government, which had just come to power, which was a popular government with some ministers had very little experience in power, to seize Crimea, which is a strategically important region. Apart from geopolitics, I think Putin is motivated ideologically. He has said publicly that he considers the collapse of the USSR, I'm quoting, the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. A person who thinks like that, of course, he would use every chance he has to restore the Soviet Empire and its borders. So he has this sort of a geographical fetishism, and there might not be any rational geopolitical reasons behind his actions.
So then let's talk a little bit about Crimea, because that's where Putin has gone in. Obviously, that's where the military base was, so he's gone in. It was a strategic move on his part. What can we glean from the history of Crimea and its demographics to try to determine, since Putin's not going to be forthcoming and tell us what he's up to try to determine what indeed he's trying to accomplish here?
Well, historically and demographically, I have to admit, Russia does have a case here because, true, Putin claims Ukraine got Crimea from Russia in 1954 when both Ukraine and Russia were parts of the Soviet Union. And it was sort of a present that Nikita Khrushchev just made to Ukraine, and it didn't matter at the time because Russia and Ukraine were like New York and New Jersey. So it was basically like giving Staten Island from New York State to the state of New Jersey. And then in 1991, Ukraine suddenly became independent. And a lot of people who lived in Crimea, who considered themselves Russian, they suddenly found themselves, they realized that they woke up in a different country. So there is a support in Crimea. I don't know if it's a majority, but it's a large proportion of the population that is pro-Russian and that considers Russia its historical motherland. But at the same time, we should consider the international legal argument. Legally, Russia has no case here. Russia recognized its current borders several times, including President Putin himself signed an agreement on borders with Ukraine early in his tenure. So legally, Crimea is a part of Ukraine, recognized by the United Nations, recognized by Russia. So Putin has no case in this respect.
Okay. So we have Putin who has invaded, no case under international law. Perhaps there are people who demographically are in the majority, and therefore leaning toward Russia, the motherland, as their perceived country of origin, and therefore they're looking to return there. But there's really no legality to Putin's actions relative to his annexation. You know, if you can call it an annexation, it's an invasion for sure. And then, they're claiming it's been annexed. We know that the voting may have very much been manipulated, if not fraudulently affected. But, at this point, Russia's occupying Crimea and claims to have annexed it. So what's next?
Well, it's hard to say because, politics in Russia is mainly done by one person, and it's hard to predict what's happening inside his head. But at this point, it seems like he would not go and intervene further into eastern Ukraine. But at the same time, he is definitely interested in continued instability in Ukraine. He doesn't want the presidential election in May to happen because there is no pro-Russian candidate which has any chance at winning the election. So he will probably try and stage some kind of protest or fake protests which are started by people from neighboring regions of Russia who infiltrate Ukraine because the border is basically open. And he will try to destabilize the country from the inside. At the same time, he is betting on some Ukrainian politicians during the elections. And Yulia Tymoshenko, who's the former prime minister who was recently released from prison, she's running on a pro-Western platform. But she has a very long history of partnering with President Putin and suddenly changing her position 180 degrees, and changing her position from pro-Western to pro-Russian. So probably Putin would be both supporting Tymoshenko and pressing the eastern Ukraine, trying to kind of organize some instability there.
That's very interesting. So you believe that Tymoshenko, she's not pro-Western, she's really pro-Russian.
Yes, I believe she's neither pro-Western nor pro-Russian. I believe that she is a populist, power-hungry politician. She has been in politics. She is not a new person. She is not someone who has been brought by the protests, by the anti-corruption revolution that happened in Ukraine. She has been in politics for 2 decades already. She was a minister of...
So she has a history, she has a record, and we can find out from that. I've got to take us to break right now. I'm so enthralled with your discussion here, I'm going to mess up our timing. So stay with us, though, Dimitri. We're not finished with you yet. We want to talk about how this impacts America and the rest of the world. Listeners, you are listening to Conservative Commandos Radio Show, and we're speaking with Dmitry Vasashev, a Young Voices advocate based out of Washington, D.C., who has insight into what's going on in the Ukraine, having been educated in Moscow and in the London School of Economics. You are listening to Conservative Commandos Radio Show, broadcasting live from our flagship station, WNJC 1360, and around the world on the Internet. And while we're at break, please check out our website, ccrshow.com and conservativecommandosradioshow.com. We'll see you right after the break.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We are speaking this segment with Dmitry Vashishev, a young woman who is currently based out of Washington, D.C., but who has studied international relations at Russia's Diplomatic University in Moscow and political economy at the London School of Economics. And he has also spent some time in Siberia, a place where he lived for quite some time. So he's got insight into what's going on between Russia and Ukraine and the effect on the rest of the world. Dmitry, we are back from break now, and here are some questions for you. What is the response, or what effect has America's response had upon the situation in Ukraine? Is there any effect upon Putin's goals or his strategy, factoring in America's response? And how about Ukraine's reaction to Russia's occupation of Crimea? I just don't see a lot going on here. Talk to us.
And I can see why you don't see a lot going on here. The America's response has been largely symbolic. They banned 16 people from entering the U.S., froze their assets, but they're all minor politicians, second-tier politicians in Russia, or businessmen. Very few really important people. No other sanctions. So the response of America has been very mild. And strangely, Ukraine's reaction too, the reaction of the new government was extremely passive when Russian soldiers without insignia suddenly appeared in Crimea. The occupation has been bloodless. One reason is that there has been almost no resistance from the Ukrainian government. Some troops separately tried to resist Russians peacefully. They refused to leave their positions, but the government itself really decided not to act, or failed to act for some mysterious reason. And why America has not acted, I think, in part, it is because the Russian invasion has been very well planned and very swift. And possibly they did not predict an occupation of this large peninsula that happened. It was a matter of days, really. For other reasons, perhaps both Europeans and Americans see Russian goals as partly legitimate, as I said, demographically and historically. So while they want to punish Russia for violating international law, they don't think it's a serious cause enough to break ties with Russia when Russia is so crucial for America in other regions like the Middle East, Iran, Syria.
But then what's the message to the Ukrainian people? Listen, they had this president who acted very badly. They disagreed with him, so they peacefully assemble and they lobby the representatives and they throw the guy out. They put in somebody new. They're looking to the West, I'm sure, as an example when they behave this way, especially given the recent history where, they gave up nuclear weapons in exchange for their independence. And here we were, the United States of America, leading them to follow the example that our founding fathers followed when they created the USA. And here, there's no response when Russia just annexes part of Ukraine. What message is that? What is that message to the Ukrainian people?
Yeah, that's true. A lot of Ukrainian people feel, if not betrayed, but they are disenchanted in some way with the West, not America, but also Europe, because the protests initially started over a free trade agreement with Europe. Ukrainians were so eager to move in the direction of the European Union, and then when Russia attacks Ukraine, perpetrates open aggression, open annexation of territory, which hasn't happened in Europe since World War II.
Hey, Dmitry, we're going to have to go in about a minute, but I had a quick question for you. If we had a stronger leader in the White House, someone that Putin respected, if not feared, would this have ever happened?
Probably, yes.
You still think it would happen?
As much as I would like to criticize the current government, Putin, as you know, in 2008, he started an aggression against Georgia when George Bush was still in office.
Well, like I said, not just Obama, but a strong leader in the White House. Maybe somebody like a Ronald Reagan.
It would probably, it might have happened, but it wouldn't go as far as it has gone.
Well, Dmitry Vassiliev, we want to thank you for joining us on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Where can people go to find out more information about Young Voices?
They can check out our website, youngvoicesadvocates.com. They can check out Students for Liberty, which is an organization, an on-campus organization. And it's an international organization which unites students, libertarian and conservative students, and people can look at their campuses.
All right. We want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Take care. God bless. Hey, Anna, I want to talk a little bit about something. I love the history of our country, and I love stories about the creation of our country. I truly believe it is a miracle of the world, the creation of the United States, and it's part of the reason why we do the Conservative Commandos radio show, because we want to maintain and preserve that independent spirit that created our nation. Well, I have been enthralled by a new series that's on AMC on Sunday nights called Turn. And what I love about this series, it is based upon true history, the history of our country. And it's based upon Alexander Rose's book, Washington Spies. And Turn tells the untold story of America's first spy ring, a historical thriller set during the Revolutionary War. Now, Turn centers on a couple of characters that are real to our history, such as Abraham Woodall and Benjamin Talmadge, and that Abraham Woodall in real life was a farmer living in British-occupied Long Island who bands together with his childhood friends to form the Culper Ring. And the reason that I bring this up, and it's a great series. As I said, I'm enthralled by it. I've watched it 4 times. I've watched the first episode of it 4 times already. And every time I watch it, I learn something new about the creation of our country and the people that were instrumental in helping us win our independence from Great Britain. The intestinal fortitude and strength and the guts and determination that it took. And I am talking about this because I want to encourage all our listeners to tune in to Turn Sunday evening on AMC, because I believe we must support programs like this to show the producers that there is an audience out there for this type of programming.
Well, I think that's important, too, because, we are looking at the mainstream media for entertainment, and many of the subjects that you find in a lot of the programs that we are given as options to select, many of the subjects there are liberal subjects, talking about race, talking about hate crimes, talking about, modern family arrangements. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of these are liberalist concepts. And then, back in history, a lot of the conservative principles that founded this country are the ones that are being, let's say, promoted by conservatives and libertarians at this point, and those particular movements within the Republican Party. And, you know, it's important that these the historical significance of these platforms, these foundational policies, become widespread in the media, because, you know, folks just don't realize that there's a connection between our history and our success as a...
Hey, Anna, we're going to have to go to a break. Sorry about that, but again, it's Turn. It's on AMC Sunday night, and you can Google it. Google Turn AMC. That'll give you more details. You can see a trailer of it. As I said, I have thoroughly enjoyed it, as I thoroughly enjoy learning more and more about the wonderful history on the greatest country ever created on God's blue-green planet. Hey, don't go away. Anna and I will be right back with our next guest, Penny Starr from CNSnews.com.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Caution of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when we end our live broadcast, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. And Monday afternoon, if you'd like to hear another rebroadcast of today's show, place to find that is at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And again, I want to remind our listeners that we do come to you Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Check out our websites, www.conservativecommandosradioshow.com and ccrshow.com. And don't forget, Sunday night, tune in to AMC, the movie channel, for the series Turn, based upon true stories about our American Revolution and the first American spy ring. It's great television. And with that, I want to welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show Penny Starr. Penny joined CNSNews.com in 2008 after working more than 25 years in print media. She's won numerous awards for her reporting, columns, and photography. She has also worked as a media and marketing consultant for clients in the arts and music industries. As a senior staff writer at CNSNews.com, she covers Congress and the White House, as well as a wide range of cultural issues. Penny, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. It's been a while, my friend.
Yes, it has. Thanks for having me back. Good to be here.
Great to have you with us, but I got a little bone to pick with you, Penny Starr.
What?
It's about your article. CO2, not a pollutant, provides beneficial impacts to planet Earth. Now, Penny, you start out your article by saying, carbon dioxide is not a pollutant, but a naturally occurring chemical compound that benefits plants and thus the planet and its inhabitants, according to a lengthy report released Wednesday by the Free Market Heartland Institute. Whoa, Penny Starr. We are led to believe that CO2 is a poison. It's going to kill us and destroy our planet. What's going on, Penny Starr?
Yeah, I know. It's quite remarkable, the data that they have. They actually have put out two reports, one on the physical science of climate change. The one they just released at this event I went to is on the biological impact. 2,000 pages in all of these two reports. And, yes, I mean, it's if anything, the things that the alarmists have talked about, the slight warming of the planet is beneficial for all inhabitants of the earth, animals, insects, and people. And CO2 is a natural compound that is actually greening the earth more than ever before.
Penny Starr, in all seriousness, this is a great article. And when I prepare to have someone like yourself come on the show, I read through the article and I mark up different things and lines that I feel is important and mark it in red. Well, Penny Starr, all my pages are in red. I mean, it's really, seriously. I wish you could see it. I think there's one line in your entire piece that I didn't highlight in red. For instance, you can look at thousands of studies, real-world data studies that have actually been conducted, demonstrate beyond any doubt that higher levels of CO2 are going to increase the productivity of plants. Now, Penny, once again, we're led to believe that all the science is in and it all shows that CO2 is a killer, yet the Heartland Institute study is saying that, you can look at thousands of studies that show the benefits from CO2 are real.
Right. They're absolutely real. And that's this report, has that data and much, much more. And it took, it's the work of 37 scientists and others who either wrote, reviewed, or contributed in other ways from 12 countries around the world. So this panel is not lightweight. And the most interesting thing is if you compare their reporting to what the United Nations puts out in their climate change reports, it's the exact opposite. Everything about climate change, if you read the UN's report, is negative. It's going to increase food insecurity. The oceans are going to rise. People are going to, the polar bears are going to die. The ice caps are melting. Well, all of the data in this report. Here's the problem. I think one of the most fascinating things, Rick, is that this report is not based on models. In other words, it's not based on scientists trying to predict the future of the weather on the planet based on some sort of model that they've come up with. Because what it's based on is real data, the real results of experiments, the real data of how the Earth has cooled and warmed over the centuries. And when it warmed back in, I guess, the 18th century, for example, they couldn't blame it on SUVs and people back then. So the real stunning thing is that if you look at the actual data, climate change seems to be just a part of the Earth and what the Earth has evolved over the years. Now,
well, Penny, what I think people need to understand about these models is garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
Hey, Penny, another line from your article. On December 2009, the Environmental Protection Agency issued final regulation listing CO2 as one of the greenhouse gases that is considered a pollutant that endangers public health. The regulation is part of what the EPA says is required under the Clean Air Act. Now, Penny, in my opinion, this is more clear-cut evidence that this administration and the Environmental Protection Agency and the leftist liberal wackos have perpetrated our fraud on the American people.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely, they have. And not just perpetrated a fraud, but they're regulating, energy. They're regulating people out of business is what they're doing. And it's, and making cars more expensive and less safe because they have to meet these supposed emissions reductions. And by the way, the report don't discount the fact that yes, now there's people driving cars and people in boats and all kinds of things. The human activity on Earth certainly has an impact on the environment and the climate. But is it something that is perilous, that's out of control, and we're all going to die a few years from now if we don't stop driving cars and all get on buses? No, obviously that's just not the case.
Hey, Penny, we got to take a break. Could you hold through the break just for a couple minutes?
Sure.
I want to continue this conversation with you. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and around the world on the internet via our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Please check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioShow.com and CCRShow.com. Two different sites, different information on each one of them. Please don't go away. We're going to continue our conversation with Penny Starr from CNSNews.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader. And program note, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show, that's 5 p.m. Eastern, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. That's CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show Monday afternoon, like Penny Starr and all of her friends will want to, place for that is at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And I want to welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show is our very good friend Penny Starr from CNSNews.com, discussing her article, CO2 is not a pollutant, provides beneficial impacts to planet Earth. Penny, thank you for reading this 2,000-page study and saving me all that time.
No, I confess, I have not read it.
Darn. Hey, Penny, earlier you mentioned the UN, and I want to read another line from your article. And like I say, great article. The EPA relies heavily in its environmental assessments on the climate change reports produced by the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which issued its fifth report in September 2013. Now, Penny Starr, liberals and the left have joined together with the United Nations to put this bogus idea that CO2 is harmful. And I believe that the underlying reason for this is the Kyoto Treaty, where third world nations are going to greatly benefit financially at the expense of developed nations by pushing the developed nations to pay for the use of energy. The lunatic liberals see this as a way to punish the United States and other developed nations, and Barack Obama himself sees this as a way to punish the United States because he believes it to be the great colonial empire. And if you want to follow the thinking of Dinesh D'Souza in 2016, that this was instilled, this idea that colonial empires must be punished, that come from Barack Obama's mother, pushed on him in thoughts that that is how his father reacted.
You've got that all right, Rick. I don't know what I can add to make it better.
I don't know. Also, in your article here, Penny, a great article, and I want to bring Ann a little into this conversation. It says one of the overall important findings of the report is that atmospheric CO2 is not a pollutant, and this is from the Heartland Institute study, that CO2 is not a pollutant. It's a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas that offers many biospheric benefits. And probably chiefly known among of all these benefits is that elevated levels of atmospheric CO2 tends to increase the biomass and productivity of nearly all plants and ecosystems on Earth. Penny Starr, where has this information been, and why is it just now getting out to the public in this form?
Well, let me tell you, the very interesting thing is that they held this press conference to release this new report at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. And I arrived there early. I try to always be early to make sure I can be all set up and introduce myself and pass around my card, etc. And one of the president of the Heartland Institute, I don't want to say his name wrong, Joseph Bast, he said to me, I introduced myself, we were talking, and he said, so what do you, based on your experience, how many reporters do you think will show up for this? And I said, probably not many, because they don't want to report on this. They really don't want to report on this. And sure enough, the people that came, there were a few kind of left-leaning or left, like Climate Wire, and there were a couple or three climate...
How did they respond?
Well, that's a good question. I should look up their articles and see what they wrote. But there were also, so maybe there were at the whole maybe 5 journalists. Believe me, the New York Times wasn't there, ABC wasn't there, NBC wasn't there, CNN wasn't there. The only video in the room was Fox, and they did do some reporting on it. They didn't send a reporter, but they did do reporting on it. So there were 2 women there who I knew the minute they sat down at the place where they were right next to me that they were there as agitators. You could tell by looking at them. But sure enough, they tried to ask questions that made no sense. But what they really tried to do was to assassinate Joseph Bast's characters for saying that some of the pro-climate change people are some of the craziest people on Earth. And he made that comment when he was referring to Castro being a believer in climate change. So he defended himself, but the mainstream media doesn't want to cover this kind of thing. They want to promote climate change.
Penny Starr, before I bring Ann a little into this, I want to read one more line from your article, which I said is a great article. Examples of how CO2 impacts plants, showing images of small and underdeveloped plants that were exposed to small amounts of the compound compared with thriving plants with generous leaves and blossoms and expansive root systems.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Anna Leto, I wanted to bring you into this conversation. You know, Anna, we've talked about this hoax of global warming or climate change quite a bit here in the Conservative Commandos radio show. But this is truly a great study and a great article by Penny Starr that really highlights that CO2 is actually beneficial.
Well, you know, Rick and Penny, it seems like the Global Warming Initiative, or in this case, the Greenhouse Gas Abatement Initiative, I mean, all of these things seem to be very emotional, and they certainly work as a political lobby. Let's save the planet. Let's protect the earth. Let's all come together as humankind. Let's minimize our impact on the ecosystem. I mean, it all sounds very, very emotional, and I wonder if any of it's based in fact. I mean, I hate to be so direct about this, because I certainly am not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, God forbid. But, you know, truth be told, where is the fact in all of this rhetoric and then this lobbying that goes on, and then it becomes an entire political lobby, and then suddenly we're running elections on who's got what position on this, and I can't find the basis in fact, Penny. Can you?
Are you talking about, I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you saying that that they turn these kinds of factual subjects into political issues? Is that your point?
Absolutely, yeah, that's my point. And I'm not sure that the actual issue at the beginning stages is even based in scientific fact.
Well,
and yet it grows into this big political monster that nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole.
Right. Well, but it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and about models. Because what happened is some scientists interested in the Earth's weather and trying to predict the future, which they can't even predict the weather 4 days from now. So I don't know how they thought they could ever predict it 50 years from now. But nonetheless, they use these different models, many of which have been discredited. But that's how the conversation got started. But when people like the Heartland Institute and the group of scientists that put this report together, these two reports together, and they've done much reporting on this. They that doesn't get the attention because there's already been set up this huge, Oh, by the way, let me just throw in, as far as the UN goes, the United States signed a treaty over this climate, not the Kyoto Protocol, but they've signed on to this IPCC thing at the United Nations, and like you were talking about, Rick. And so that's this is the thing that's frightening to me. The American government, the U.S. government, is relying on the United Nations to dictate its policy, its domestic policy, its energy policies. How people live their lives in America is being dictated by the findings of the United Nations.
Penny Starr, great article, and I want to thank you for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. And Penny Starr, give out the website for CNS News and also where people can go to read your entire article.
Yes, cnsnews.com, and this article is not on the homepage right now, but if you Google my name and carbon dioxide, you'll find it.
All right.
News.com. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Penny Starr, always enjoy having you. And when you talk about getting it out, getting stories like this out, there's two sources you can depend on from that. One is the Conservative Commandos radio show, thanks to cnsnews.com.
Thanks again, Rick.
Take care. God bless. Hey, Anna, we're just about out of time here, but I once again want to remind our listeners when we go off the air at 5 p.m. to log on to cprworldwidemedia.com. That's cprworldwidemedia.com for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. And at 10:10 this evening, they can hear a rebroadcast of today's show by going to patriotsride.org. And Monday afternoon, you can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And hey, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Sunday night, AMC, the movie channel, for an episode of Turn, based upon America's first spy ring based upon a true story, true characters, well worthwhile television to watch. But Anna Little, I want to thank you for being my co-host today. I want to thank our other guest. I want to thank Mr. John Forsythe. Great job working the boards, but for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you Monday on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
This is 1360 AM. WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJCradio.com.